Leona, it is great to have you on What's New in Digital.
Hey, Andrew, thanks for having me. Super happy to be here.
This is going to be another great conversation today because this is actually the first time we've had a project manager onto What's New in Digital to share. If you're listening to this on Spotify, Leona just did I think that's the project manager dance. So we're going to talk about three things from Leona's point of view as a project manager of some trends that she is noticing in digital. And Leona, I'd love for you just to dive in and share with us what is point number one.
Yeah, and so just to kind of give folks take a couple steps back here, I'm a marketing project manager with No Typical Moments. And so in this role, I serve as the liaison between the client and our team, which includes advertisers, strategists, copywriters, and a whole bunch of other roles. So my priority is to ensure that we're delivering the highest quality of work and results to our clients relative to digital marketing conditions. So yeah, let's dive in. Yeah, so like definitely over the years, the project management landscape from an agency standpoint has seen drastic changes that have led organizations to transition from sticky notes to sophisticated enterprise SaaS solutions. I will say though, I still use paper and digital sticky notes.
I have my
What was that?
paper over here.
Yeah, yeah. But with that, definitely just the biggest trend that we're seeing is the opportunity to standardize and automate processes via project management software. I actually recently read in a 2020 report from Wellington that 54% of organizations lack access to real-time KPIs. And over a third of them spend over 1 day collecting data. And I know like that stat really hit home because I know like a lot of us, especially, like in a smaller agency setting can relate to that. Mm-hmm. So with these newer, like sophisticated softwares, you're able to make a massive difference when it comes to your day-to-day. So you're able to leverage historical data to improve scoping, forecasting, planning for future projects, also viewing resource availability, skills, and other details to help simplify the allocation.
So I have a question on, I'm not going to ask you for quiz on software, but I have a question related to a software NTM uses, which is Slack. So I think one of the ways in which you're a great project manager is your speed of communication on Slack. Can you talk about how No Typical Moments utilizes Slack and why that's a great software to use as a digital agency and digital virtual agency as we're all scattered across the US?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love Slack. I think it's a fantastic tool. I will say though that if you're going to be using Slack as your primary source or means of keeping projects on track, it would be extremely difficult. I think it's a great platform to use for communication purposes, follow-ups, check-ins, but not as an actual CRM or organizational structural type of platform. I use Slack to check in daily, weekly, monthly. But again, I am using other tools and resources to keep my timelines, my deliverables, my projects organized.
Yeah, and at No Typical Moments, it's utilized almost like a text messaging in a way. Like it's a short message, you want an instant reply. You're not trying to use it to, hold long conversations or project files and whatnot. It's almost a simulation of like, I think it comes naturally for our age demographic, as it reminds me of AOL Instant Messenger back in the day. And I feel like we've just been in that like one sentence communication portal our entire lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even clients use it. Like I know we've had, projects to where we integrate and we like create a channel with the client. And so again, it's just like quicker communication.
So let's go into number two. What is your second point?
Yeah, I think at this point it's not traditionally discussed when it comes to project management. I think that's the demand for emotionally intelligent leaders.
Mhm.
So while organizational and analytical skills are obviously necessary for project management, I think that there's definitely an increase for emotional intelligence in recent years,
Mhm.
especially with this pivot to hybrid and remote work.
Mhm.
So, as a project manager, you hopefully have the ability to stay highly attuned to the states of others and understand that empathy involves both cognitive
Mhm.
component, which is like understanding what others are going through, and then the emotional component, which is feeling what others feel.
Mhm.
And so I would strongly encourage our viewers and hearers, is that a word?
That sounds
Uh,
right.
to find or to encourage creativity when it comes to finding solutions, to allow for failed attempts, to see people, not things, especially, as a PM, you tend to throw around the word resource often, and typically you're referring to human capital.
Mhm.
Provide less stress in projects when needed. Um, yeah, there are honestly so many recommendations, but I think that these skills would really help project managers with future trends as like this project management landscape is just becoming so much more
Mhm.
complex.
Um, so a EQ attribute I heard from you was empathy. So let's say someone has heard that word because they've heard it on a different podcast, they've read it in the book, but what are some recommendations you would have for someone to develop the capacity for empathy?
Yeah, I think empathy can has a different definition to different people.
Mhm.
And so I think for me, I think the first step to understanding how to practice empathy in project management, I think you could start off with your agendas.
Mhm.
These daily, weekly, monthly check-in agendas with your team, they're no longer just about work,
Mhm.
right? These meetings not only serve to keep tabs on projects, but also give people an outlet to socialize.
Mhm.
And so I've found that by doing this, I'm able to stay on top of what people are working on and ensuring that they're also having the best work life balance possible.
Mhm.
And at NTM, as you said, um, most of us, I mean, we're located across the country and even across the globe.
Mhm.
So understanding for me, like it's a priority to understand where my team, like where are they geographically located? Have there been changes? What other projects, what other responsibilities do they have? What does their bandwidth look like? Because all of that information will help like influence my approach to project management. And I don't think that there's what's the expression like a blank, a one size fits all. I think all projects are unique.
Mhm. Yes. So let's go to number three. What is your last point?
Yeah. So I this third point, it highlights the growth of the project management role and how projects and organizational strategy are coming together. And I know that that's something that at NTM we are experiencing. And so I think that traditionally projects and organizational strategy have been separate domains.
Mhm.
And so, like, typically the role of a project manager was only to execute projects like from beginning to end. And that was basically it. But now we're seeing that project managers actually are taking on a more hands on approach in executing the broader organizational strategy.
Mhm.
And so at NTM, like, what exactly does that look like? So it's like understanding the skill set and again, resources behind each team member, each project, allocating that appropriately, ideally by strengths, so that like that would result in higher effectiveness, efficiency internally, and obviously for the client. And I think another really important note that we are experiencing with this shift, this pivot to hybrid and remote work is like the importance of knowledge sharing. I think it's something that continues to rise. I think we've all experienced working with a guru and they are amazing. But at the same time, it's like if this one person serves as like the single source, and eventually it's like it creates bottlenecks, especially in resource planning. So making sure that like those individuals are sharing the knowledge with the team. And I think in agile environments, that mindset is a norm. But I think for like more established traditional organizational structures, this kind of rethinking will be a major challenge.
Hmm. I have one follow-up question to that, and I love that point because before your tenure at No Typical Moments, it actually had happened in numerous times that there were people who were bottlenecking insights on projects and wouldn't let anyone in. Really, I learned it was more out of fear for their position, and instead of coming from the place of more, abundance and bringing everyone else along with them, they were trying to kind of hoard that and create leverage. So that's going to parallel into this next question, which is what I heard from you too, is the importance of bringing leaders along with you.
Yeah, exactly.
And so my question is, this will be the last point for today, is what does leadership mean to you?
I think leadership to me means making sure that everyone feels included in the deliverable, the project, whatever it may be, inspiring people to want to work on my team, and getting folks aligned to where the results are a collective thing versus individual, and the usage of the word we versus I, but getting people to go above and beyond for the client, even if it's out of scope, which tends to happen a lot within like an agency environment, but it's because we're all on the same team. And I think that really comes down to the PM setting the tone, because we're not just managing like a project, like we're managing, at the end of the day, we're managing people. And so leadership starts with us.
If I could do a mic drop, I would drop this mic right now. So let's end it there, Leona. That was a great way to wrap this up, and thank you for sharing your wisdom today.
Oh, thanks, Andrew. Thanks for having me.